Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here. Welcome back to part 20 of the Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin full playthrough walkthrough. In this section of the walkthrough, we're going to be going through a boss gauntlet and completing the base game. So this will be somewhat short. The way Dark Souls 2 ends is a sort of like without big fanfare, if you will. You don't really access a new area, you just go to a door that we haven't unlocked yet. But you could have unlocked at some point and actually fought two of these bosses already. But more on that when we get to it. I'll show you my stats. Oops, those messages. Current level 158 with 45 Vigor, 30 Endurance, 20 Vitality, 4 Attunement, 40 Strength, 38 Dex, and 25 Adaptability, with 3 Intelligence and 4 Faith. Oops, jeez. Currently using a raw Santier Spear plus 5, short bow, and a mix of the Faram set with the Falconer set. I have the Ring of Steel Protection plus 1, Chloranthy Ring plus 1, Ring of Blades plus 1, and the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. Okay, so what we need to have equipped, actually, is the King's Ring. So make sure you have that equipped, and we're going to warp back to Dringlake Castle for the first time in a while. And you want to warp to the King's Gate Bonfire. Now, you may have already opened this door. There's a king door to the left of the bonfire. And this will lead to the Throne of Want, which is where the game ends. Be careful in here, though, because I think one of these come alive. Oh, I could have sworn one of these came alive. Alright, anyway. So once we get out here, we will speak with the Maiden in Green, really for the last time, and we'll get a bit more lore from her. So she appears here.
My journey is already complete. My name is Shanalot. The dragon gave me this name, for I was born with none. I was born of dragons, contrived by men. By ones who would cozen fate herself. They are the ones who created me. But they failed. I did not come out as intended. Fate would not be bested, and men were cursed once again. If you proceed, Nashandra will come after you, knowing that you will take the throne and link the fire. She covets the first flame and the great soul. Put Nashandra to rest.
Okay, so that's the last bit of lore we will get from the Maiden in Green, or the Emerald Herald, or Shanalot, as we have just learned her name is. So down here, down this path, we're headed towards the Throne of Want. And in the Throne of Want, we will fight 3 sets of bosses. Well, it's a 2v1 fight, a 1v1 fight, and then another 1v1 fight. If you have not killed King Vendrick, the final boss of Scholar of the First Sin will not appear for you, so you want to make sure you do that before you get here. I'm not 100% sure if you can kill Nashandra and then Vendrick and then come back and fight the final boss, Aldia. I'm not sure if you could do that. I never actually tried that. It may work, it may not. Anyway, so yeah, Dark Souls 2 kind of ends without much fanfare. It's really just a boss gauntlet. The first bosses that we will fight are the Throne Defender and the Throne Watcher. They are relatively slow, but they can do a lot of damage. And shortly after you kill one of them, the other will revive the fallen one. So you want to try to keep their health bars even throughout the fight. This way you can kill them pretty quickly. Once you kill Throne Watcher and Throne Defender, Nashandra will appear. Nashandra is very easy for a final boss. The only thing to watch out with her are the little clouds that she can spawn throughout the fight. You can shoot these with a bow, you can just hit them with your weapon. They do apply a curse effect, which drains your maximum health. So very similar to the jailers in Dark Souls 3 and Irithyll Dungeon. It's the same effect. When they stare at you, your health bar goes down. Curse in in this fight does the same thing, but you can just break the clouds. Once Nashandra goes down, the final boss of Scholar of the First Sin will appear. So if you're playing vanilla Dark Souls 2, I hope this walkthrough's been helpful for you. It's a very different game, but you will not fight Aldia. Aldia is another very easy boss. You just have to watch out for his big pyromancy attacks, which have a huge wind-up time and you shouldn't have much trouble with. I'd be kind of surprised if I could do this all in one shot. It's been a while since I've fought these 3 bosses, but we'll give it a go. Also beware that when you do kill the final boss, you will get the credits once you approach the throne, but just like Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro, you are not forced into New Game Plus in Dark Souls 2. So you do get a choice, and then whenever you do want to go into New Game Plus, just go to the Majula bonfire, and you can progress into New Game Plus. But after this, the next part of the walkthrough will be the first part of the DLC, so don't worry about the game ending and kicking you into New Game Plus. It's not like Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne and Demon Souls. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so this is going to be Throne Watcher and Defender takes 7. I'm just getting destroyed by these guys, which is, like, very frustrating. I'll sort of talk about that in a little bit, but most importantly, I'm taking a recommendation from Hisato from my Discord. Shout out again. We're going to change the King's Ring to Gower's Ring of Protection. You don't actually need the King's Ring until, or after you open the door for the first time. It will keep opening. I think that might have been a Scholar change. But Gower's Ring of Protection gives you, it sort of puts a little ghosty guy on your back, and it gives you higher defense against attacks from behind. And that seems to be what a lot of the damage I'm taking is, because I kind of get turned around. Anyway, so Throne Watcher and Defender. This is a 2v1 fight, obviously. The strategy you need to employ is you have to keep them in front of you. They have separate health pools. Dude. They have separate health pools, and when one goes down, they will attempt to revive each other. So you need to be very, very careful, and you want to make sure that you kill them evenly. But you really don't get too many attempts to attack, or too many opportunities to attack, because they are constantly trying to run you down. They also have kind of cheap attacks where, like, they will run towards you in a weird little pause animation. Jesus, I mean, thank God that worked, but yeah, they sort of run at you in like this little animation and then sort of delay their attack, but you've already rolled, so now you're like committed to the roll. It's just a mess. I was saying in one of the attempts that I was recording that this fight feels like how Dark Souls 2 used to feel pretty much all the time, where you would just be getting overrun by enemies, and with no real recourse. It just feels like the developers were like, hey, like, you know, it's hard, a bunch of enemies at the same time, like that's a good challenge. And it's like, it's not a challenge, it's just annoying. And that's what this fight feels like. So, you know, luckily with the Scholar changes and everything, and the enemy rebalancing, the game didn't feel like that anymore, but it just feels like this boss fight is like a relic of that. See what I mean? Like, you don't really get opportunities to just go after one without the other one, okay, going nuts. So Defender is at about half health. Wow. I am still going to be focusing on him. Luckily, he no longer has his shield while his weapon is buffed. So we do sort of have the opportunity to just deal extra damage to him, but the lightning buff does make him deal a ton more damage. Be very careful. You really don't want to do more than 1 or 2 hits at a time. Otherwise, yeah, see, like he sort of starts one animation, pauses, and then goes into another, but you've already rolled. And the animation, it's just like he's canceling his own animation, which, I don't know, I don't think is very fair. But, anyway. Ow. Alright, so Defender is almost dead. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on Watcher. So that was really good damage, but Defender is now so low that we basically have to just solo focus. Son of a bitch. Solo focus Watcher. Yeah, this is the sort of like getaway attack, so you don't want to stand near her while she's doing that. At least I think it's a woman. Ugh. The ring just saved me from that. Probably would have been death. It's like, even when you have the opportunity to go in, the other one is just like right behind you, so it's like, it's just really tough. It's tough. And like, the sad thing is, like, this isn't the final boss. Like, this is a boss you could run into as soon as you go into the Throne of Want. Like, they are here no matter what. The final boss only appears after you get the item from the last dragon. Anyway. So, Watcher's down. She's going to go over there at some point, but we can actually just kill her. Alright, so now we're going to fight Nashandra. I don't know how this is going to go with only 2 flasks. I'm not really sure. I am tempted to Homeward Bone back and start this fresh. I kind of want to challenge myself, so let's see how it goes. Running over towards the throne triggers Nashandra.
Grave undead.
And Nashandra is the final boss of the base game. Aldia is optional. We will fight him right after this, but Aldia was not in the game until Scholar of the First Sin. So thank you again to Hisato for recommending the Gower's Ring of Protection. That literally made the difference. Alright, so this is Queen Nashandra. She's the woman that we saw sitting on the throne in Dranglake Castle. And she was the one who had the painting that was cursing us anytime we would walk by it. So now we'll find out why. So Nashandra does not want us to link the fire. She doesn't want us to take the throne. Okay, Nashandra, take 3. She's going to spawn her little clouds. Get a couple attacks on her while she's doing that. Let's just walk over here, break this one, and then should probably break this one as well. I don't know why I'm not running. I'm holding circle, I swear to God. Alright, let's kite her over here a bit. So, she's not too hard. I mean, this is my 3rd attempt on her, but sort of died for silly reasons. She does have a 3 swing scythe attack that you gotta watch out for. God, that's annoying. She's just gonna get away so I can heal. This is a laser beam you gotta watch out for. While she's doing that, you can just go in on her. Attack all you want. She does have an AoE, so if you notice that she sort of holds her hand towards her chest for a prolonged period of time, she's going to explode. It's basically Wrath of the Gods, just, yeah, right here. Oh no, this is Curse Clouds. She's able to track you pretty harshly, which can be very frustrating to deal with, so you gotta be careful. There's the laser. So you gotta... Wow, that was really effing close. Anyway. Here's the Wrath of the Gods. Careful with that. Ow. Jesus. Alright, so that's Nashandra. Now we're going to fight Aldia. So Aldia, like I said, is only available in Scholar of the First Sin. He does not appear in Vanilla Dark Souls 2.
Many monarchs have come and gone. One drowned in poison, another succumbed to flame. Still another slumbers in the realm of ice. Not one of them stood here as you do. Now, you, conqueror of adversities, give us your answer.
So what I'm going to do really quick, use an effigy to just remove all this curse. And then I'm going to flask up. Now we're going to fight Aldia. So Aldia is surrounded by fire. It's got a lot of tendrils. And then they can sort of pop out in a sort of like Firestorm from Demon Souls, similar fashion. Once the fire starts moving out, though, you do want to be careful. Ow. Jesus Christ. I've only fought him once, so forgive me if I don't know every single one of his attacks offhand. He does have a teleport, which is just kind of annoying. Yeah, because he shows up in an explosion that you really can't expect. But after that, he just sort of smolders, so you can run in on him, which is nice. This big orb is less dangerous than it appears. All you gotta do is run. Eventually it'll come out. There you go. It's just a big fireball. Again, very similar to... very similar to... Jesus. Dark Lurker. Sort of the same idea. But you gotta watch out for the fire that spawns around him. It's kind of silly. Anyway, here he comes again. Then we're gonna run over while he smolders, and then we're gonna deal some damage. The fire will come back, and then you gotta watch out. It's just like cheap damage. I really don't like it. Anyway, we got these little fireballs. They move a little slowly, but you definitely don't want them to hit you. Hopefully he's not moving while this is happening, but now he does summon the big one, which, again, we know how to avoid. It's really not a big deal. While he's summoning it, you can even get a hit in, and then just back up. There you go. He does have good music, which I like, but just sort of a whatever kind of boss. He'll teleport again. Show up over here. And this is literally the Aldia fight. It really doesn't get much more complicated than this. Just watch out for the pits. You don't want to fall down and kill yourself accidentally. It can happen. Shoot him with a bow for just pepper him with a little bit of damage. Oh god. I got a little overzealous there. Alright, so when he's in the middle, this is actually when it's the hardest. Because now you, literally just have to run the perimeter without dying. Without falling to your death. But... oh, no. Shh. I really did not realize that that's what was going to be happening there. I may die. I forgot that while he is surrounded by flame, he's actually kind of invulnerable. Forgot about that. Anyway, that's Aldia. And that's Dark Souls 2. The base game, at least. We still have not even touched the DLC, which we will begin in the next part of the walkthrough, but... yeah.
I lost everything and remain here patiently. The throne will certainly receive you. But the question remains. What do you want from me? Light, dark, or something else entirely?
Alright, so now we just walk towards the light. And proceed to the throne.
You who link the fire. You who bear the curse. Once the fire is linked, souls will flourish anew, and all of this will play out again. It is your choice to embrace or renounce this. Great Sovereign, take your throne. What lies ahead, only you can see.
Alright, so that is Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. Can we not skip the credits here? Oh my god, I'm gonna get copyright stricken. This sucks. Okay, well, I guess I'll just mute this while I talk. So, yeah, I'm like pressing all the buttons, nothing's happening. Weird. Okay, so that is the base game of Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. And where we will go next is the DLCs. The first of which is Sunken City Shulva, which, in my opinion, is my favorite. It's the best of the three. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, but I really like Shulva because it feels like a return to form in terms of world building and actual level construction. I will say this about Dark Souls 2. Like, at the end of these walkthroughs, I generally do a little bit of story time. And I know we're not totally at the end, but the difference between Dark Souls 2, and the base game are pretty stark. Dark Souls 2, when it first came out, or when it was first being advertised, looked like a very different game. And then when it came out, the lighting engine that they had been touting was removed. It looked a little, I don't know, weird. Like, it just didn't look right. It looked graphically worse. And I've recently found out that I watched a video called WTF Happened for Dark Souls 2. And through that YouTuber's research, they learned that From decided to build a new engine for this game. And anytime a new engine is built for a game, alongside a game, like they build an engine specifically for a game, things don't go well. And the reason for that is because you have part of the team building an engine, and then part of a team building parts of the game that don't necessarily require that engine, or doing like the prep work until they need to implement that engine. But you're still on the same deadline. So it's just, it never really goes well. But after a lot of time had passed and production had started and gotten underway, From Software was really running up against the deadline. And that is when Miyazaki came back into the production. He was away doing Bloodborne. That's when he came back into the production to sort of like sew it up and literally stitch together everything that they had. That is why there are several areas such as Iron Keep coming after Earthen Peak. They like don't make much geographic sense. There's like so many different biomes in the game. And it's because it was just designed differently, and that's fine. I actually like the area diversity of Dark Souls 2 a lot. But it had a lot of development troubles. That said, it didn't make for a very enjoyable experience when the game first came out, because it felt like there was something wrong, especially compared to how the game was marketed. I mean, just go back and look at that early marketing material. The game looks completely different. It ran so much smoother. It looked so much better. And then what we got was just like this downgraded, inferior product without much explanation. The other frustrating bit, and this is like the main reason that I am giving a bit of story time here at the end of the base game rather than the end of the DLC, is because when Dark Souls 2 was released, there wasn't supposed to be DLC. From Software outright said that. And I'm going to read you part of an interview from December 2013. And this was done with Edge magazine. It said, in a recent interview with Edge, Dark Souls 2 producer Takeshi Miyazawa revealed that there are currently no plans to release DLC for the upcoming title. And this was 3 months before the game came out. For Dark Souls 2, we don't even expect any additional downloadable content because we want to deliver a full game. The full experience to fans who purchase the package from day one. We did do additional content for Dark Souls 1, but generally downloadable content for Dark Souls 2 is not really being considered. Buy the package and you'll get the full experience and you'll have just as much fun as anybody else. I don't know if that was a lie or what, but the game came out and then like several months later they announced, hey, we have 3 DLCs planned and it's going to be like $25, $30. So if you can, dig, if you will, a picture. Back in 2014, DLC was a very different beast. Sometimes DLC, like the attitude around DLC, like wasn't good. People generally didn't like it. The first DLC that everybody sort of considers being the first on console was Horse Armor in Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And this was on Xbox 360, and it was like you could pay like I think $2 or something and get fancy looking horse armor. And that was like the first like little microtransaction that people remember. I come from a different time. I come from PC games where I'm used to buying expansions for single player games and adding on to single player games for years at a time. And it wasn't really that big of a deal to me. But what started happening at this time is, and this famously happened with a game called Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which is a fighting game. The game would come out, and then they would like announce DLC when the game comes out, saying, hey, there will be more. And that just doesn't leave a great feeling, and it still doesn't. It's sort of like, hey, you just paid $60 for this game, but it's not actually done yet, and so we're going to keep charging you for content. The reason I bring up Street Fighter Cross Tekken is because after the game was released, the disc was ripped and data mined, and it turns out that a lot of the DLC characters were already on the disc and finished. So the DLC was basically them, literally just locking away part of what you've already purchased and then charging you to unlock it. It was literally on the disc. I think 4 or 5 of the characters were already on the disc. So this was sort of happening around this time, and so the sentiment around the user base, around video game players, was that DLC is kind of a shady thing. It's gotten a lot better now. It's really just about communication getting better. But yeah, so when Dark Souls 2 came out, no DLC was planned. At least that's what everybody was told. And then a few months later, we get the Crown of the Sunken King DLC announcement along with the whole rest of it. After the third DLC came out, Scholar of the First Sin was announced, which was a rebalance of Dark Souls 2, which is what we're playing now, and it includes the 3 additional DLC areas. But it was $25 to upgrade. Even if you had the game on Steam and they had all the DLC, it still cost you, I think, like $25 to upgrade to Scholar. So Dark Souls 2 just doesn't have a great track record in terms of how the game was planned, released, how the post-release content was planned and released. It just doesn't... It left everybody with a really weird feeling. That said, however, the DLC is very strong, especially when compared to the base game. The world building is much stronger. The enemies are pretty cool. The areas have a consistent vibe to them, like a design motif. There are 3 very different areas, but they're just much better. That said, you still have the same like gameplay differences in Dark Souls 2 as you do the rest of the series, so it still feels a little strange to play. But it's just enjoyable to like be in these areas, and I'm actually very excited to visit them again for the first time in a while. But yeah, so when Dark Souls 2 was first released, I said this pretty much at the very beginning of this walkthrough. Me and my friends, we had a big LAN party. I think there was like 11 of us maybe or something like that. And we all sort of sat down and played this game all at the same time. And we really liked how we all ended up, some of us went Forest of the Fallen Giants, some of us went Heights Tower of Flame. We all were sort of in the Lost Bastille at the same time, but in very different areas. We didn't know about the back entrance, front entrance sort of thing. So it was a really cool experience. But as time went on, we all just sort of felt like something was off in this game. And that persisted through the end. So when the DLC came around, it was like, oh, they sort of fixed it a little bit. And the world is just much better. But more on that next time. Can't believe I managed to come up with something to talk through that entire credit sequence. Anyway, back in Majula, the Farfire now has the option begin Journey 2 to Drang Lake. And then if you are in New Game Plus and you beat the game, it'll say begin Journey 3 to Drang Lake, and so on and so forth. If you do wish to go to New Game Plus and you don't wish to do the DLC areas first, no big deal. You are more than... you don't need my permission to do it, but like you can do that. Just keep in mind that when you go to New Game Plus, all of your keys are removed from your inventory, so you can't go to New Game Plus and then immediately go to the DLC areas. It doesn't work that way. Also keep in mind that when you go to New Game Plus, any areas that you have used a bonfire aesthetic in, so the Royal Army campsite is currently at bonfire intensity 4, every single bonfire moves up 1 intensity. So this bonfire in New Game Plus, for me, would be bonfire intensity 5. So just keep that in mind in case you've used aesthetics anywhere. But there is one thing left for us to do. We could have done this earlier, but we didn't. So we can now visit Cale the Cartographer since we have lit all the bonfires in Drang Lake. And then he will have like one final bit of conversation for us. So let's do that now.
Even more flames have appeared. I don't know what causes it. It seems that all the flames have been lit. It makes me feel somehow... Wait, what am I doing here? Who are you again? Fate brought us together for a reason. Take these, and may they help you on your travels. It seems that all the...
Alright, so Cale is basically like the summation of the world of Dark Souls 2 and how the people who've come to Drang Lake sort of like interact with the world. And what I mean by that is, I said this when we first met him. When you first meet people in Drang Lake, they very often are confused as to why they're there. And that's because they're going hollow, and they're forgetting where they come from, and they're forgetting what their purpose in life is, like what drives them. Cale, being a cartographer, he is like lost in a cave, and he's just sort of like minding his own business. And he's just sort of like wandered away because he's trying to build a map of Drang Lake, but because he gets a little lost, he forgets what he's doing. Then he comes back to the Majula Mansion here, and as you begin to light more and more bonfires around the world of Drang Lake, he like better realizes his purpose is to build a map. So you're basically helping him build this map of Drang Lake, even though it's sort of already here on its own. Anyway, point being, once you light the final bonfire, he no longer has anything to do. So then he begins to forget again. And so it's just this cycle of remembering and then forgetting over and over and over again. And that's basically Dark Souls 2. Okay, so that's basically the last NPC that we have an interaction with here in Majula. There is Mofflin the Trader, Trader. I think that's his name. His name is Mofflin. I don't know what his title is, but anyway, this guy Mofflin in this house here. I did mention this in Mofflin the Armorer. I did mention in the first walkthrough that the more money you spend with him, the cockier he becomes. And it's because he's like getting rich and thinks less of people now. But he has a special armor set that you get, I think, after you buy everything from him. And that's the butterfly armor set. It's pretty cool. I recommend buying it. But yeah, and also don't forget, if before you go to the DLC or really at any time, if you wish to infuse your weapons or anything or upgrade them, Chloanne, the Stone Trader, or Stone Trader Chloanne, as you defeat more bosses throughout the world, she gets infusion stones, and she even sells a Titanite slab for 13,000 souls, and infinite chunks, large shards, and regular shards. So feel free to purchase things from her if you want to change out your weapon. She's a great vendor. When you do go to New Game Plus, she will return to Harvest Valley, and then you'll have to do it all again. But that is one way to do it. Yeah, let's see what the death counter is. Now that we are... I guess this took me like 3.5 weeks for me to get through over time. 20 parts. 370,625,085 deaths. Let's see what it was when I started this walkthrough. Things betwixt. Let's see. Where is it? Just skimming through the video now. Okay, I found it. When we started, there were 300... So there's been an additional 4 million deaths since we started this walkthrough about a month ago. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I uploaded this video on the 12th, I think. Yeah, a couple weeks. But yeah, there's been 4 million deaths since we started this 2.5 weeks ago. Alright, but that's it. We'll end it here. For Sunken City Shulva, which will be the next part of the walkthrough, I haven't yet decided how exactly I want to go through that area. It's very long in terms of adventuring. If you play Dark Souls 3, it's pretty similar to the Painted World of Ariandel, where you don't actually run into a boss for a long time. That said, there is a boss midway through the level, but it's kind of interesting, and I'll sort of just give you a little preview of this. So, in each DLC, there is an area that is designed for cooperative play. You can either summon NPCs, you can summon other players, but the area is sort of overrun with enemies, and it's really not meant for you to do alone. So I will be summoning help for that area in each of the DLCs. But what I may do is go through Sunken City Shulva until we get to that point, and then do that area, and then call that part 1 of the DLC, and then do the rest of the area and the 2 bosses at the end. Call that part 2 of that DLC, and basically do the same thing every time. That's how I'm thinking about it now. We'll see what I wind up doing. But that's it. 20 parts for Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin base game. In the next section, we will go to Sunken City Shulva, the first DLC. Alright. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. You can also join the community Discord server. The link for that is in the video description below. If you are looking for more guides for Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, and as always, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.